Let's talk a little about lists in Python. So lists are another data type in Python. So, we have come across integers, floats, and booleans as three data types so far. But lists are another type of data, and they are exactly what they say they are. They are lists of things. Usually people put the same type of thing in a list. So usually it's either a list of all numbers, or a list of all booleans, or a list of all floats, or a list of all strings. But you can actually mix them if you wish. So here you go. Here is line 13 is an example of a list being created. So I've created a variable called mixed list, and I've put it equal to a list. And that's how I create a list in Python. It starts with a square bracket, ends with a square bracket, and then you have items in the list, and each item is separated by a comma. So in this list, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items in the list. The first item is 1, the second item is 2, the third item is 3, the fourth item is the character A, the fifth item is the character B, and the sixth item is the character C. So a list, square brackets, and then each item separated by a comma. You can get the length of a list. So Python has a built-in function called len, and if you pass it the name of a list or a variable that contains a list, it will return you the length of that list. So when I call len here and I pass it in mixed list, it will return me the length of it. So it should give me back 6. So list length should be equal to 6 in this case. And we'll see it getting printed out. Let's just actually run it now. And you can see here, look, I print out the mixed list. So you can see it 1, 2, 3, 4, ABC has a length of 6. And there you can see it being printed out. That's that line being printed out there. Typically a list, as I say, contains all of the same types. So my list here has 2 different types. It has numbers and characters. So I'm actually just going to, if I wanted to just take out these items from the list, you can use a thing called slicing. They say you'd slice the list. And you use this operator, this colon operator here. So here you go. I'm creating a new variable called typical list. And I'm saying it's equal to the mixed list. And then I use the angle brackets. And then I slice. I say, go to the mixed list and give me all of the items between 0 and 3. So that's 0, 1, 2. So it'll give me these 3 items. That's another thing to note, and it's a really important thing to note. I should have said it earlier, that lists start at position 0. So they'd say this is position 0, then position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4, position 5. Or they often call the positions the index. That's index 0, index 1, index 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that list has 6 items, and they're numbered 0 to 5. So down here, when I take a mixed list and I use the slicing notation, so the slicing notation typically takes 2 numbers, where you want to start the slice and where you want to end the slice. So I'm saying I want you to start slicing at index 0 and go up as far as, but not including, index 3. So that's 0, 1, 2. So my typical list now should be a list containing 1, 2, and 3. I could have also have done it this way, by the way. If the first number is 0, you can just leave it out and just go colon 3. And that will start at the start, everything from the start of the list all the way up to, but not including, item 3. So again, let's just run it and see what this prints out here. So there you go. You can see this line here is line 19 being printed out. And this line here, 1, 2, 3, is line 28 being printed out. So typical list now is the mixed list sliced. So it just contains the items 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so that's slicing. I can also use the angle brackets to just set one item in a list to be a value. So for example, here I am saying go to the typical list and change item at index 0 and put it equal to 4. So what was at index 0 was 1. Now I'm changing it to 4. The other thing I can do is I can use the -1 item. So the -1 if you put -1 inside in your angled brackets, it starts at the end of the list and counts back. So this, for example, here would say the last element in the list is, and it would give you one back. So watch this here, and we'll just run it. The last element in the list is 3. Yeah, so it's just before the end. Yeah, so the list is 1, 2, 3, and it's saying the last element is 3. So -1 is 3. This here, the last 2 elements are come back 2 and then go as far as the end. So you should get 2 and 3. So this here is more notation for slicing. So you can use a negative number, so it's counting from the end and going all the way to the end. So you're coming 2 from the end all the way to the end. You can use the append. So that will add an item to a list. So you can take a list, like typical list, and call the append function and append the number 7. So the typical list was 1, 2, 3. It should now be 1, 2, 3, 7. You can also do it this way. You can say typical list dot append 5 plus 5. And what will actually happen there is Python will do the mathematical calculation first, which will give it 10, and then it will append the number 10 to the list. So the typical list should be 1, 2, 3. It should be 7 because we've appended 7, and now we should also be appending 10. So it should be 1, 2, 3, 7, 10. And when we print it out, exactly like that's what we get. Oh, I've changed 1 to 4 up here, of course. I've changed the item at position 0 to 4. So it's 0, 2, 3, 7, 10. If you want to remove an item from a list, you use the del keyword. So this is saying delete the item at index 2. So that's at index 0. 4 is at index 0. So 2, it's this one, number 3. So it should be deleting 3. And here then we have, if you want to remove more than just one item, that's for deleting a particular item, just deleting the item at index 2. If you wanted to delete all of the items between 0 and 2, you say typical list between 0 and 2 is equal to, and you put it equal to a blank list. And then when you print it out, you should get items 0 to 2 removed. And indeed you do. Look, there it is. Look, we're getting 7 and 10. The items from 0 to 2, these 3, that's 0, 1, and 2, have been removed. And then if you want to remove the whole list, you can go typical list, starting at the very start, going to the very end, put it equal to a blank list. And when we print that out, of course, we get the typical list is now blank and its length is 0. So that's lists. How you create them, angled brackets, commas in between them, length to get the length of it. Slicing, you use that colon, so it'll take a little bit of practice to get used to that colon. You can have a number before the colon, a number after the colon. If there's no number before it, it assumes that you mean the very start of the list. You can slice from the back as well. So if -1 is the last item in the list, -2 colon nothing is go back 2 items and go all the way to the end. You can use the append to add something to the end of the list. You can use del to delete an item from the list at a specified index. And again, you can use slicing and sort of a blank list to make parts of a list blank, so to speak, or to delete parts of a list. And you can, of course, use something like this in line 51 to delete the whole list. Again, as you practice this, it will become much more easier, and you'll remember a lot better. It's very difficult to remember all of these things just by looking at code now. What you're hoping for is that you get an understanding of it, and then once you encounter problems that require lists, you'll be able to refer to this and be able to solve your problems.